Hello, so hopefully you can hear me and see me all right. You're fast on young rail enthusiast. So the good thing is obviously notifications went out properly tonight, so there's already people on. I won't keep this on for ages because this mask is broken and it's not the most comfortable fit, but the people who like the Metro games should recognise this mask. Basically, the voice diaphragm, actually the voice diaphragm's there, is just broken on it, so I'd need to find a way of opening this up and replacing it. But the issue is because the voice diaphragm is broken, even if I had a filter on this, air would just come in through the voice diaphragm. It's the Soviet PPM-88, also known as the GP9, which is the one that was in Metro 2033. That's cool, Riley. So anyway, I'll pull this off now. And I can put my glasses on and read the chat a bit better. I thought that would just look good on the thumbnail and gets people talking. All right, Mike, there's already been some weird comments, although I've not been able to read them all yet. So make sure you and any other mods are keeping a good eye on the chat. Also, I'll open this on the stream. I'll have a shot of that to start with. Some Polish vodka I bought back in 2015 hadn't opened yet, but I thought, why not? So I'd assume the best NBC suit to use with an M65 would be the West German Zodiac suit. Yeah, it smells like vodka. So let's pour a shot of that without spilling it. I won't have excessively large amounts of alcohol tonight because I've not eaten loads today, so it'll probably hit me quite hard. Cheers, Mike. Oh, I think the Area 51 raid is completely stupid because the idea of trying to raid a government military installation where they can just legally shoot you if you try and break in is quite the idea. Yeah, €10 is very good for an NBC suit. Do you know what the model is? Let me look up which one the MFA one is, but the TF1's alright. It's basically just a cheaper GP5 copy. Assume I have to put gas mask at the end. That's not coming up with any results. Let me try respirator. Let me just try MF1 because MFA1 isn't coming up. Oh, if that's you, do you mean the MF11? If you mean the MF11, that's very good. That's much better than the TF1. Good evening, mechanised and weaponised. I've got several Geiger counters. There's a Polish DP66M there. The one I had the video go live on today is the mini monitor, the one with the Alpha Probe, which is my favourite out of all of them. I've also got a SOX01M, which is like the little portable one. That's the most practical one because it's both a dosimeter or dosimeter and a Geiger counter. Yeah, I'm sure the Dutch Army ones are good. Do you know if it's a rubber one or a charcoal one? Either way, €10 for it isn't a bad price at all. But as I said before, I prefer rubber NBC suits because they take longer to expire. They only really stop working if the rubber splits, whereas with the bit like a condom, but with the charcoal NBC suits, they expire after a while, so they will let stuff through because they're designed to be more comfortable to wear. But the issue is they stop working after a while. MF1A, let me look that one up. MF1A respirator. Apparently, I haven't got that one, but apparently it's got a very good field of view because it's got the triangular lenses. Valve-wise, it looks identical to the TF1. So it's basically the TF1, isn't it, with triangular lenses? But it looks to me, just from images, and I think what people have said, that you get a better field of view of that. I'll have to see on eBay if I can find an MF1, because I wouldn't mind getting one, to be honest. But just getting results for little dust masks. I'll have a look at some point. A lot of the time with the Chinese masks, you have to type in things like spray paint respirator, and then they're all marketed under that. But all the ones coming up at the moment are just the 3M style ones. But I'll look at that at some other point. So. Yeah, don't forget to like the stream. Thank you. That does help people find it. Right, let's see if this Soplica, or however it's pronounced, vodka tastes any good. quite smooth actually for a vodka. Yeah. Most Geiger tubes can't read alpha. Most Geiger counters can only do beta. It's beta, not Bravo, by the way, of a Geiger counter. And it's not tradition, it's radiation. I'm not sure if you're trolling with that comment or you massively messed it up, but most Geiger counters can only read beta and gamma because they're the easiest to detect. Alpha probes, like that one on there, need a very special probe. That's why they've got the fat ends to them. All right, cool. I'll have a look into that. Yeah, it's not too bad actually, that vodka. So yeah, full day at work today. Oh, what kind of music do I listen to, Gooby? Basically anything I like the sound of, so I know that's not a very good answer, but I like a lot of prog rock, 80s synth kind of stuff. Some classical, if it's the heavier classical stuff, soundtrack kind of stuff. The best Italian gas mask I've got, and it's the only Italian gas mask I've got, so it would also be the worst Italian gas mask I've got, is the Spaziani TR2002, but I don't have any Italian military masks, so I really can't comment on that. But I do really like that Spaziani, or however it's pronounced, because it gives a very good field of view, it's comfortable, you know. If I find a French M51 helmet that's for sale for not a stupid amount of money, sure, but I think when people asked me about M51 helmets before, when I looked into them, lots of them were like £50 plus, and for an old steel pot, I am not paying that. Did anybody steal, or did you just not stop anyone stealing peach? Or as in ambient noise, I can switch that one on in the background and put a radioactive source next to it if you want. Just to see how much is left in the battery, and the batteries are still leaking. I won't put anything too radioactive in front of it because I don't want it ticking really, really loud the entire screen. So some thorium. There you go. If you like that background noise, just a thorium lamp mantle. Favourite German gas mask? Probably, well, the only modern ones I've got is the M65. The M2000 looks really cool, but I don't have it. That's very good. What kind of Geiger was it for $25 that can do all that? I assume it's just somebody selling one really cheap, because as far as I know, you can't get any modern ones that cheap, even for ones that just do gamma and X-rays. What's the keywords for it? Elephant Boy, or however you pronounce your name, and then I'll see if I can find it. Alright, cool. Hopefully you get a legit one, because obviously a lot of those helmets are fakes. That's a shame, but obviously you can still get X-Arm police helmets on UK eBay, sometimes around £30, which are Kevlar-free A1. So again, you wouldn't be getting much of a saving even if you did it in bulk. But alright, cool. I just hope it's a legit one, because obviously there are a lot of replicas and fakes around for that. Alright, that's good. Wow, yeah, that's cool. Hope you enjoy the helmet then. Well, out of those two, the C3 Canadian's much better, just because it's got a voice diaphragm on, better field of view. So yeah, if you got all the materials and you made it yourself, you probably could make one quite cheap, but I imagine you have to know what you're doing to do that. That's cool. Or like an old, when you say mine detector, you mean like an old metal detector that's specifically like a minesweeper type one? Or is it a bit different? Favourite Tissot system? To be honest, most modern masks are all pretty much identical. But I kind of like how the Shums or SHMS has the two Tissot tubes that go to each side of the eye. 2019 Chinese gas mask. Right, let me see if I can find it. Sadly, nothing coming up on mine that's related to that. There's a couple of other sort of old Chinese masks coming up, but not that one. I think I've had Absolute at some point, Peach, but not ever bought it. I think I've had it when other people have offered it me. But with vodka, I'm not really that fussed, because vodka's meant to be kind of a cheap drink, isn't it? So I know the thing is, you can get some really nice smooth vodkas, but that kind of defeats the point of me of having a vodka, because vodka is kind of meant to be a cheap potato sort of alcohol. I might just have to try eBay.com, Riley, but I'll have a look at some point when I'm not on the stream. The Geiger counter. Oh, that Geiger counter. I don't know, KYMA, why you've been blocked. Because you haven't even said what your account name is. Alright, cool, Maxi Boy. Is that like a proper one, or is it one you made yourself? Oh, that's cool. Yes, it'd be pretty good then, wouldn't it, Maxi Boy? What do you mean? Why have I got it on, or where did I get it? I got all the Geiger counters from eBay, but I've got it on because somebody asked me to put it on. If it's not a 40mm screw, it won't fit a NATO or a Ghost, because obviously it's designed for specific filters. I have no idea without knowing what the mask is, knowing what proprietary filters it has, because I don't have psychic power, sadly. That's fine, Henry. Yeah, I don't do any of this stuff for prepping. I just like collecting it for military sake. The thing is, if you mean bayonet filter connectors, there's loads of different types of proprietary connectors. Like 3M masks all use one kind of connector. Some of the other brands use different kinds of connectors. So again, the thing is, you're not going to be able to get the right filters unless you know what kind of filter it's meant to take. GP5 is better than GP4 in my opinion. Well, with a filter, it kind of just dries. When you've got a mask on, like a full charcoal and everything filter on, your throat will end up getting quite dry. So obviously it takes like all the humidity out of the air. It says we've got 21 likes on my stream, but yeah, more likes wouldn't hurt. I prefer British masks, but bear in mind I don't have enough American masks to get a good sample because America export bans their masks. How long has what lasted? Truck 81. Oh, what, the Dan Aykroyd one was that, Peach? Or was it Dan Aykroyd? I know the one you mean, the one that was in the skull thing and it was a bit of a piss take thing. The Avon CT12 is my favourite mask. Well, I did when I had a look Elephant Boy, but as I said, I'll have a proper look later. I don't want to get distracted too much on the stream. Alright, cheers, Hotshot, I appreciate it. But yeah, I don't want to get distracted too much on the stream by like constantly looking on eBay for a particular mask. I can do that when the stream's over. Yeah, I've tried a few of those like weird flavoured alcohols. I quite like quite a lot of them. I've already done that several times, Killstrike. Right, New York, good afternoon. What time is it in New York? I guess you're Eastern Seaboard time, aren't you, in New York? Is that 5 or 6 hours behind the UK? I can't remember. Yeah, you can try Elephant, might as well. 3:11. What, in the afternoon, I take it. So 15. Wouldn't be 3 a.m., would it? Yeah, PM, I was going to say that. That's confusing. It's like you're not ahead of us in time because you're just west of us, not east of us. Yeah, you can try it later on, Elephant Boy, but like I said, sometimes YouTube blocks people. Not like blocks them, but sometimes YouTube will just stop you posting links. Like they just disappear your comments. This one, a Soviet PPM-88, the Metro, 2033 mask. Sort of like one of the last generation of Soviet masks with a panoramic lens and everything. That's cool, hot shot. Apparently it depends on the version. This one isn't very good because it had a really crap XL valve that was broken when I got it. Not XL valve, sorry, voice diaphragm. Apparently though, there are different companies that make these, so it depends which variant, you had. So it's like a quality control thing. Which factory made it depends on the overall quality. But in terms of panoramic masks, it's nowhere near as good as like a Scott M98 or anything like that. But it's serviceable if you got one which wasn't broken. In theory, Maxi Boy, they should be about £30, but lots of Russian sellers want to charge you an arm and a leg for postage. So, yeah, the actual price of the masks is around £30, but lots of sellers want to charge you like £20 to £30 for like 3 week shipping. So I ended up buying one from a UK seller, but sadly it's broken. But, I have a weird Soviet gold thing, but I have no idea if it's fake or not. I have no idea where it is off the top of my head to show in the video. I think it might be on that shelf somewhere, but I'm not going to dig around for it. Well, so far, technically being, if it's Sunday, this is the first stream I've done of the week, because Sunday's the first day of the week. Alright, see you, Gooby. Do MSA do proprietary filters, though? Because it wouldn't surprise me if they did. But yeah, some masks have airlines. And you can even get industrial masks that have an airline rather than a filter intake. Yeah, that's the broken one, Bing. Like I said, I'm not spending another sort of £60 on a PPM-88 and hoping it's in good condition. I could probably repair it. All I need to do is take... Oh, yeah, and I've got the shitty plastic XL valve cover that always falls off on this one. Yeah, in theory, I'd have to take this off. I could then get at the voice diaphragm bit, and I could see if I can just replace it. Fixing voice diaphragms isn't very hard, because you can replace them pretty easily. Literally just on eBay, you can buy brand new Scott ones that are sealed for like £5, £6. Cheap and decent with swords isn't always the two words that go together. Windlass Steelcraft, I found most of their swords are alright, and they're in the sort of lower price range, but you're still going to have to pay, like that saber up there, that's still like a £150-odd sword. I used to buy mine KLM from D&B Militaria, but sadly they're quite expensive on there now just because of how the UK laws have changed on DX. Right, I'll switch the Geiger off for now because it is slightly distracting having that going in the background. Yeah, how does the pivot actually tighten on this one? But luckily, this won't actually flick all the way out without doing a wrist movement. So as we were reading the law with Mike and everything, as far as we're aware, this is still legal, but the law's so vague anyway that, Yeah, D&B Military is good. It's just the prices are quite expensive now. That's why I haven't bought any DX in ages, because I'd rather buy like replica air guns that you can actually shoot for like a third of the price of buying a DX rifle or whatever. Mini Monitor Type 510. That's its name. Over 100, but I said I'm not going to count more than over 100. Somewhere over 100, not 200, not 150. Somewhere over 100. There you go. No deactivated pistols. I've got 2 replica pistols. Both are Denix ones. And one's an 1870. Not 1870. One's a Colt Peacemaker, and the other one is the sort of Confederate copy of the Colt Navy, the Griswold and Gunnison, whatever it's called. I've also got that Umarex sort of air pistol, which is sort of a licensed copy of a Beretta PX4 Storm, but I don't actually have any deac pistols, no. I've got an XM28, which is technically a prototype. Oh no, you can't fire a deactivated gun because it's deactivated. That's why it's deactivated. Some deactivated guns you can dry fire, but obviously there's not enough components inside that you could ever actually fire it. Favourite candy, favourite sweets. I like peanut M&Ms. Would you consider that a candy? Or do you mean things like boiled sweets? Oh, thank you very much, Killstrike Gaming. Cheers. Are you already on the Discord? I can't remember, but if you're not, please send me your Discord code and I'll add you. I think you might already be on there, mightn't you? I can't remember. But yeah, some you can dry fire. It depends really on how they've deactivated it, though. Yeah, you're already on. I thought you were, but I thought I'd ask because I don't want somebody to donate and not be on and then me assume they're already on. Yeah, it's no surprise, is it, with Reddit, Mike? Like we said, I'm sure there are some good Reddits, but most of the Reddits I've ever been to are that kind of thing of just people making pointless replies to anything or not replying or whatever. Or where the thing that annoys me is I've been on some Reddits where I think the Stalker Reddit was like this, where you get somebody do a really good video or a really good write-up on something and it wouldn't get many upvotes, and then somebody would just post a meme picture that gets posted over and over and it would get like hundreds of upvotes. You think, what's the point of people ever trying to make good content on there when the shitter stuff gets the most upvotes? Yeah, thank you, Killstrike, anyway. I do appreciate that. If they're definitely normalised ones, I'd say it's worth having just so you can put a filter on a GP5 and stuff like that. But, yeah, if they're expired, I wouldn't pay much for a filter. But again, if they're normalised, there's kind of a good use for having it. The good thing is, though, at least with the P3 bit on them, you can still use the particle filter because particle filters don't really expire. Particle filters only stop working if they get torn or they get so clogged up you can't breathe through them. I'd know nothing about parts kits, Riley, because obviously I'm in the UK where all that sort of stuff is verboten. But yeah, I don't think I ever really use any of the Reddits, like, to be honest. I'm trying to think, but I think sometimes there's certain Reddits I check just to see if there's any updates on like games or films or anything like that. But for the most part, I don't particularly, find Reddits very interesting. Right, Richard? Also, I'm going to do a video tomorrow. It's just going to be a bonus video. It's not going to be a regular video. So there's still going to be a video Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday as usual. But I'm just going to do a video where I just talk about like my thoughts on all the e-drama stuff and why I don't want to get involved in arguments. Because quite often people bring it up on streams and I say, look, I just don't want to get involved in anything like that. But I'll just do a video explaining my point of view on it. Just so if people are wondering, it's kind of like an FAQ video on it. The whole thing with a lot of YouTube stuff is I'd rather just have nice conversations with people rather than being, in like online arguing matches with people because I just really don't see the point. But, every now and then people bring up a thing and say, like, why don't you argue with this person over something? Yeah, Shao Powder, what you can do is if you buy activated charcoal for aquariums or like ponds, you can get the activated granules. All right, cheers, Maxi boy. I'll have like a third of a shot or half a shot, just as I said, because I'm not. Are you on Discord? If you are, give me your username and I can invite you to the server. But like I said, I'm not going to have much more vodka because just simply for the fact that that will do. I've not eaten loads today because I had a big meal yesterday, so I've not eaten loads, and I don't want to be drinking a lot on an empty stomach. Tell you what, before I have that next bit of vodka, where did I put? There it is. I'm just gonna have some water, just because obviously drinking vodka, then drinking water, whatever, stops you getting hungover as much. That kill strike is French riot armor. It's like not stab proof or anything, but it's kind of like impact resistant foam that's flexible. I've got a video where it's being tested where I'm wearing it and I'm getting hit with like bokkens and like pickaxe handles, and it works bloody well for what it is. But it only covers your like shoulders and arms. Yeah, I don't mind doing something like that, Robin. But the thing is, for me, I'd mostly say to people, just buy what you think looks cool and isn't too expensive. When you say filters on the outside, was it literally somebody who just stuck the cheek filters on the outside of the mask, like not knowing how they go in? Yeah, you've been scammed. But yeah, if you find a video kill strike, it's quite interesting. The bokken actually hurt the most because we theorized, I was talking about with, I think, Mike and Richard Weaponsmith. Mike's weapon collector, if you don't know. That we think it's because the bokken has like a thinner edge, more force transfers through the armor, whereas a pickaxe handle, even though it weighs a lot more, obviously it's a bigger kind of object, isn't it? My arm was a bit sore the next day, but not much considering, you know, how hard and how many times I got hit in the arm. So yeah, it does work, but obviously it is intended as proper riot armor. The modern stuff the French riot police tend to use, though, is just kind of like the more plasticky kind of shin guards and all the, you know, bits where they strap each individual bit on. That's, I'll just show you, see if I can twist it slightly. But this stuff is more like, if you see that, just kind of like a mesh kind of thing. You know, just that kind of stuff. Yeah, the thing I got annoyed about with Reddit being is there was a couple of YouTube Reddits, and there was one that was meant to be for, I think it was called something like YouTube creators or something like that. And the point of it was that people could ask technical questions to do with YouTube, and people could answer them. So the idea was, you know, if you had a YouTube account for a while, you should be able to give people advice, you know, so it's not like asking Google, it's asking other YouTubers. And quite often on there, you could give somebody, you could spend ages writing a completely legitimate, you know, good, well thought out thing explaining their problem or how to fix something. And if it wasn't a quick, easy fix, people would downvote you. Because some people, you know, almost on there were so deluded that they didn't want to hear the truth. They'd ask a question and they'd say, how would I get more views? And, you know, you'd say, well, I've looked at some of your videos and really you ought to, you know, upload more regularly, maybe get a better camera, you know, all that sort of stuff, do better lighting. And then like, oh no, that's too much effort. You know, what's the secret way you just get loads of views? I don't know, it sounds interesting. Let me Google Ultra View mask. And then, yeah, that's why I basically gave up on a lot of Reddits, was just because you could spend ages, you know, answering people's questions, and then they'd still not want the answer, basically. Apparently it's 33mm threaded filter insert. Oh, it's got a 40mm, according to the gas mask wiki. Apparently you should be able to unscrew a bit from the front, Samuel, and then you should be able to put 40mm inserts, sorry, not 40mm inserts, 40mm filters on it. So it sounds like it's got an adapter pre-screwed into it, so you just need to unscrew that. It'd be a bit like if you bought a 60mm mask and somebody already had the 60 to 40mm converter screwed on, you just unscrew that to put the original filters on. I think mine's the metallic one, isn't it, Gabby? It's just, I'd say go with whatever's cheaper. As far as I'm aware, the plastic ones are industrial. The metal ones are the military ones. But it probably doesn't matter, to be honest. It's probably same plastic voice diaphragm bit under the cover. It's just the military ones have that kind of zinc coloured metal one. Well, the thing is, Exclusone, is that because I'm chronically ill with ulcerative colitis, like I said before, I don't really see the point in prepping for long-term stuff. Now, because I've got a big militaria collection, I've got enough hardware behind me that I've got stuff that would protect me, you know, in the case of certain situations, body armor, helmets, swords, crossbows, you know, all that sort of stuff. But the thing is, because I'm chronically ill, I don't see the use in prepping for long-term stuff anyway. Because if my medication runs out and I'm on quite specialised medication, I'm pretty fucked. So for that reason, you know. Yep, that would help McTwisty Flop. You wouldn't be able to smell your mum with a gas mask and a filter on. That's not a very nice thing to say about your mum, though, is it? I've got the original MM1s, I think, but it's just something to do with how the straps are done on them, isn't it? Like, the MM1B has a more updated head harness or something. Actually, I can't remember without looking, but... Sadly, no, SRS. And the problem is with that is as well that with my medication, I can only get like a month's worth at a time, and it's medication I have to take daily. Because the idea is that, you know, it's like you fill out a prescription request for it, and the annoying thing is on my medication, it's something pharmacies don't stock in. When your doctor approves it, the pharmacy has to specifically order it in for you, because it's like, you know, not a standard illness medication. So sadly, there's not much I can do in regards to it. Sometimes I can fill my prescription requests in slightly early and they'll grant them. But, you know, that means I've only got a slightly longer supply than normal. Again, I could drink lots of green tea, vape a lot, and do a lot of other things that would certainly slow down my UC deterioration. But sadly, outside of specialist medication, there's not much I can do. I'm sure you could. It depends how well the harness is done on the mask. 6 straps generally tend to be better, but 5 straps don't bother me at all, because I've heard some people say, you know, like 5 straps are crap, always go for a 6-strap harness. It just depends how good the harness is, you know. A decent 5-strap one, the thing I like about having one strap right in the forehead is it does always pull the mask properly up on your chin. With some of the 6-strap ones, they just pull the mask a bit tighter like that. Oh, right, you did say, is there a possibility to insert a drinking tube on a Soviet gas mask? Not easily. I mean, I'm sure if you were good enough at DIY, you could bodge one up, but, you know, I've never done anything like that, and I wouldn't really personally want to cut up masks to try and make a drinking tube. Right, there you go, Maxi boy. There's your donation of getting me to drink. Have some water now. Not currently Exclusone, did a couple of years ago, but I've been single for a... Wouldn't mind getting into a relationship again, but it has to be the right person. I'm alright, Killshot. I don't know, I don't think you missed anything particularly interesting, Killstrike. Well, I do YouTube during the week, and at the weekends, or I can schedule YouTube videos, I work as just a kitchen porter, which is basically just a cleaning job, but doesn't bother me. It's at a local garden centre. So it's very convenient to get to. I also do charity volunteering on Thursdays as well. That's cool, Killshot. I'm going to be on for quite a while yet, because it's only 34 minutes in, and I'd like to go over an hour today. Because Sunday streams generally have a lot more people watching and commenting. I guess it's just a better day for a lot of people than ones during the week, because a lot of people are obviously not working at the weekends. I am, but obviously I've finished work now. What did you miss, Robin? Is this 50 US dollars? Because I don't know what masks are easily available on the US surplus market, but under $50. Can you get US M40 for under $50? If you can, that would be a pretty good mask for that price. Yeah, basically, they're still the proper NBC filters, Logstrike. So the Israeli Type 80 civilian filters are still P3 rated. Yeah, Approved Gas Mask is pretty much a scam site because they sell surplus masks for really high prices, and they basically sell the surplus masks we're selling are completely legit. Don't buy them from anywhere else; they won't work. I've got a shield here, Exclusion. Sadly, I can't pull it out easily. It's an old riot shield. It's not a ballistic shield or anything, but a small riot shield, I've got quite a big one, would actually be pretty practical because riot shields are surprisingly tough polycarbonate ones. If you watch some of the videos on them, people can hit them with like axes, swords. Some you can even run over with vans and tanks and they won't break because of how the polycarbonate works. Again, it won't stop a bullet. But if somebody was attacking you with a knife, you could just literally hold the shield up and then bash them with the shield or hit them with your free hand. Yeah, you worried Richard the Peach is going to be sending you some dodgy porn. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that. Is it a Panzer Shrek or a Panzer Faust, Peach? Well, the thing is, I'm not really interested in selling masks myself because I'd like to try and be as unbiased as possible. Obviously, I do have my own biases and things, and sometimes channels or sellers will send me stuff to review or whatever. So I'm not completely neutral in that regard, but I'd rather not sell masks because then people can accuse you a lot more easily of, being a lot more biased. What about crossbow bolts, Samuel? I've got quite a few crossbow bolts and arrows. No, sadly, I don't think there's anything like that near me at all, Zach. I've got a Bokken, which I piss about with, because Bart's got a Bokken house, so now and again we'll smack each other around the Bokkens a bit, but sadly, I don't think there's any proper, HEMA stuff near me or anything. Oh, it's a more modern one. No, I think the Shums is better, simply for the fact that the Shums has the metal bit at the bottom. The voice diaphragms are pretty much the same, and the eyepieces on the Shums work really well with scopes. The PMG still goes slightly to the side because of how the mask's laid out. No, sadly, I don't do airsoft. I've got a couple of airsoft guns, only one actually decent one. But the annoying thing is, the nearest airsoft site to me is Finmere, which is still 30, 40 miles away, so a fair drive. And they generally, I think, only do one airsoft day a month, and it's on a Sunday, and I work Sundays. So annoyingly, if I went to Finmere one more time, I could get my Eucharis sorted in theory, but it's just a lot of my friends are never free when I want to do it, and I'd have to book a day off work as holiday. So I've still not sorted all that out. If there was an airsoft site closer to me that did games in a week, I'd probably be a lot more interested, but I was just a bit earlier. I'm not going to have any more for a while because I haven't eaten loads today and I've already had a shot and a half of it. But it's Polish vodka I bought in Poland. It's Soplika, it's called. It was £4 or £5 for a bottle like this in Poland. Very cheap compared to what it is in the UK. Yeah, it's all right. But no, I said I don't want to drink loads on stream. I'm sure I've probably heard of it, Crazy Dave, but let me Google it so I definitely know what you're talking about. I used to drink Jägermeister a lot as Jaeger bombs now and again when I went clubbing with friends, but I haven't been clubbing in ages, to be honest. It's too expensive. Oh, is that the Setme bayonet that's coming up? That looks cool. I like the Setme rifles. Obviously, the Setme was the original G3. And a rifle I really like the look of, and I regret the fact I didn't buy it as a Diak now, was the Setme Owl. I think at one point DMB Militaria had the Setme Model L for about £300. That was a 5.56 Setme Spain went to before they ended up buying, I think, M16 from the US or something. And that's a really cool space age looking 5.56 rifle, even though it had quite a lot of problems. But, as a Diak, that wouldn't matter. But, yeah, Setme is interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't know that the German G3 rifles were actually designed in Spain originally, and that Heckler & Koch essentially just bought the rights to produce them. Yeah, 3M full face masks would be as good as any military gas mask. Not necessarily against things like mustard gas, but with the right filters on them, they're fine. 3M half-face masks are very good for like hardware kind of, uses like sanding and stuff like that. I really don't know, Zach, to be honest. It depends. There's some people in this country that are really into prepping, lots of people that would think it's crazy, people like me that prep in some regards and not others. It depends. It's completely down to the person, but I assume that's the same in most countries. Imagine there's people in the US who think you're a nut job if you prep, and then lots of people in the US that are really into prepping, whatever. Well, as in World War I and World War II, do you mean kill shot? Wow, visually, the German World War II uniforms, although I don't agree with obviously Nazi ideology, I think they had the coolest looking uniforms. In terms of practicality and camouflage, though, I'm trying to think in World War II who had the most practical camouflage uniforms. I know apparently Soviet amoeba sniper suits are meant to be very good at like hiding the wearers. Sadly, kill strike in the UK, airsoft guns are kind of covered under a weird law we have. Because in the UK, what the politicians love to do, and they do this in other countries, but the UK is a prime example of it, what they love to do is make laws that don't really fix anything, that make them look like they're fixing something. And I think in the late 2000s, they passed a thing called the Violent Crime Reduction Act. And what the VCRA did was it pretty much banned the sale of airsoft weapons unless you had, that looked not two-tone ones, but realistic-looking ones, what they called realistic imitation firearms, unless you had what was called UCARA, or like a similar excuse for having it. So that means in the UK, I don't think you can sell an airsoft gun to somebody unless they've got a UCARA, but again, the law's very weird, because there's lots of stuff in the UCARA that says things like, I think if you gift somebody an airsoft gun for free, that's fine. So if you had a friend and he had an airsoft gun, they could gift it you. You could have it, and then you could give them a gift of several, like £100 or whatever, and that's completely okay in the eyes of the law, but they can't actually sell it you. There's lots of really weird stuff like that. Again, it's because they made bullshit laws to try and pretend they were doing something about like crime, and it just makes everything worse for people who want to get that sort of stuff. When it comes to modern uniforms, I'm trying to think. I like a lot of the modern Russian stuff. My favourite modern camo, though, is probably, is it Finnish MO5 camo it's called? That is a really effective camo pattern. But for World War II stuff, yeah, the Nazis have the best looking uniforms, but obviously I don't agree with Nazism as an ideology. I just think the Wehrmacht and the SS had really cool looking uniforms. All right, Nazar. About your question earlier on that video where you said communism's an ideology or whatever, not a form of government or whatever. The thing is, so is Nazism, you know what I mean? That in theory, you can have an ideology on paper or whatever, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily good. The thing is, on paper, communism sounds fine. I don't want to get too much into politics in these streams, because I hate talking about politics. But the reason I don't like communism, because while it's good on paper, every time it's practiced, lots of innocent people suffer. That's why I don't like it. Hopefully that makes sense. Annoyingly, when I tried to reply to your comment, it wouldn't work, so I don't know if YouTube deleted the comment or whatever, but I did try to reply to it. But yeah, the thing is with ideologies, lots of them might sound good on paper, I just don't think they're very good in practice. Yeah, exactly. Sad thing is, Hugo Boss's son or whatever has apologised now for the Nazi uniforms. I don't really see why you'd have to apologise for uniforms. But I suppose you could make the extent that the Nazis wouldn't have been so popular and maybe wouldn't have gotten to power unless they had, really cool-looking uniforms, but whatever. No, nuclear power plants are generally very safe. And the thing is, if your local nuclear power plant Chernobyl, a mask on its own wouldn't be enough to protect you, because the beta and the gamma radiation would still get you. Even though a mask can block alpha radiation, it's not going to do much against beta and gamma. But modern nuclear power plants are very safe. If you go to a Geiger counter outside a modern nuclear power plant, the background radiation is barely higher than background radiation in most other places. Because the whole idea is when nuclear power is working properly, it's very safe and clean. It's just obviously if it goes wrong to the extent of Chernobyl, then it's very bad. I don't know if FP5s contain chromium or not, but lots and lots and lots of 40mm NATO filters did contain chromium up until not very long ago, because chromium was put in the filter, I think, to stop ammonia. And as I've said before, I personally am not very worried about inhaling a bit of chromium from a filter, because there's a big US study done on it you can read from several sources. Basically, I'll explain it all again, but the chromium thing was a worry, because basically when the US went to the C2 filter, or I think they had chromium in the M17 filters, but nobody was ever worried about that. When they went to the C2 filter on the MCU2P and the M40, that the C2 is the black 40. I'll get one out and show you actually. Right, so this is a US M40 gas mask. This is the US C2 chromium filter. So the chromium filter is basically just any kind of 40mm filter. Cheers, Nazar. But basically, the issue was that they used chromium in the charcoal layer, and the chromium was used to adsorb or catalytically convert ammonia gas, as far as I'm aware. It might not be ammonia, but it was one of the gases. And the problem was, without using chromium, you couldn't stop ammonia. I'm going to just say ammonia. If I'm wrong, but it was one of the gases you couldn't filter out unless you put chromium in there. So they put chromium in the filters. Now, the only reason it became a bit of a scandal was because they made a lot of these filters to a shit quality, the chromium and the charcoal were leaking out and they could risk being inhaled. And because Hex 11, or how it's pronounced, chromium, is poisonous in big quantities, or like quite poisonous if you eat it rather than inhale it, there was a big scandal and inquiry done into whether or not chromium in filters was dangerous. Now, if you read all the independent reports done on it, where the US basically paid different companies to research it for them, they said that basically you'd have to be breathing through a leaking chromium filter for hours each day, for weeks on end, basically you'd have to be breathing through it for hours every day for essentially decades to have like a 1% risk in the increase of lung cancer. So basically chromium, for the good it does you in protecting you from certain chemical warfare agents, is really good. Now, what they eventually did do is they found other things they could use instead of chromium, which were safer, which weren't as bad. But the problem is the chromium thing seems to be a big scare where a lot of people haven't really researched it. And they just go, chromium is bad, full stop, it shouldn't have been in filters. The whole point they use chromium in filters so you wouldn't die from ammonia gas if it was released. Because normal, in terms of ABEC filters, old NBC filters were only ABE or AB. These sort of C2 filters were actually ABEC. So anyway, that's the history behind the chromium thing. It's a bit of a long-winded explanation. But if FP5 filters do contain chromium, I wouldn't be very worried about it. Because even if the filter is leaking, you'd probably have to, keep buying leaking FP5 filters and breathing through them daily to actually get any health risk. It's not like asbestos, which can fuck your lungs up from a very little bit. Chromium is so minor. But again, modern filters now, they found alternatives to chromium, which are safer. But personally, I'd happily breathe through a chromium filter and it wouldn't bother me. Even if it was leaking slightly, although you shouldn't really breathe through any leaking filter because just inhaling charcoal dust is bad for your lungs. Yeah, no problem, Roman. It's one of those things where lots of people seem to get very upset about chromium in filters, but they never have seemed to have bothered researching it very much. And I'm not accusing you of that. It just seems to be a thing in general. Because some people have got really shitty at me even when I've tried to explain it. And they're like, yeah, but if it's even 1% dangerous over like 20 years, you shouldn't do it. It was like, but if there's ammonia gas at the time, you'd be dead. I think most people would probably have a 0.1, would rather take, a 0.1% increase in the risk of lung cancer 40 years down the line than die immediately from ammonia poisoning. But, it's one of those things. But again, very modern filters, like Avon doesn't use chromium anymore, and a few of the other companies don't, because they've obviously found another kind of metal they can use to do catalytic conversions in the filter that obviously are safer. But yeah, personally, I'm not worried about chromium. Yeah, because I think most of the dangers with chromium came from people that worked with like chrome liquids in factories, and if they weren't wearing a respirator and they had massive vats of chrome or chromium, if they inhaled the vapors from that, that could be quite deadly. But obviously, working with massive vats of chrome liquid every day, 5 days a week, is quite different than having like less than a gram of chromium or something mixed into your charcoal in the filter. But again, I'm not an expert. Please don't think I'm an expert on it, but I've just read, like, you know, some of these massively long reports, and I've read every single bit of them just to try and get an idea. And from what I can understand from reading those reports, chromium isn't really a worry. It's just because they had shit build quality on some of these C2 filters, it only came about because the filters were leaking, and kind of a scandal came around from it. Because, you know, troops would take their masks off and then their faces would be stained black from the charcoal. And obviously there was a risk that they'd inhaled chromium, and then all that came about. That's cool, Maxi boy. But yeah, at the moment, like I said, I haven't been airsofting in ages. I wouldn't mind going again. It's just annoying that the Finmere, which is the closest place, only seems to do it on a Sunday. But yeah, airsofting I enjoy because it obviously gets you out and about in the woods or whatever, wearing camo in a sense where you don't feel weird for wearing camo. Running about with all the equipment on, you know, it's a good bit of physical exercise and everything, even with my asthma. Saying that, I'll use my inhaler now because my chest's been a bit tight today, but that's because some of the chemicals I work with at work seem to tighten my chest up a bit. It's also the humidity. Why do you keep doing weapons and stuff, Gabby? Why are you doing that? Yeah, I've got asthma. It's not a very serious asthma thing. Basically, I take the brown the brown preventer inhaler twice in the morning, twice in the evening, and then I use the blue inhaler as and when I need it. But in general, I never have asthma symptoms unless I've been around something that's, you know, a bit of like a breathing irritant anyway. Yeah, just repeat the comment, Gabby. If you keep spamming at weapons and stuff, I'm still not going to see the comment, am I? Because the chat's probably moved on since then, or it's not appeared. Or I just go for the Soviet mask. With Fallout, all you need is particulate protection. For Fallout, I'd actually rather wear something like the PTM1 for ages than a lot of other masks, just because it's comfortable. But yeah, Fallout is, you know, just basically inhaling dust that's radioactive. Yeah, right again, Nazar, because it didn't show up the other time. Inhalers contain some sort of steroid, from what I understand, that basically force your airways to reopen. What asthma does is your airways, so obviously where your throat connects to your lungs, can become inflamed and constrict, so you can't breathe as much. So let's say a healthy airway looks like that. When you have an asthma attack or your asthma flames up, your airway does that. So what an inhaler does is it basically forces your airways back open. So, you know, if you're wearing a gas mask and it's got a big filter on it and it restricts your breathing, it's like that, but without a mask on. Yeah, exactly, Richard. That's the thing. As I said, I'm pretty sure welding and working in factories and stuff is a lot more dangerous than just the bit of chromium that's in the filters. I hope it'll be good Excluzone, but I have no idea if it will be good or not, because I don't think a lot of the original developers are still with GSC, are they? And that's the problem. You don't know if a game like that or a long-awaited sequel is actually going to be good. I hope it's good. I'll be cautiously optimistic, but I won't pre-order it. I'll wait until it's sold and see if it performs well and people like it, and then I'll buy it. What do you mean, what size do a 13th old person? I hope you had boots on that stop that burning straight into your foot, Crazy Dave. Oh, shit, there's metal on your ankle. But yeah, for the people that don't know, you quite often have to repost questions and maybe reword them differently, because YouTube, for whatever reason, sometimes blocks messages because they think there's a link in there, or they think there's something harmful in the message. I don't know why they do it, but it means that you might think you've posted something that's not actually gone into the chat. Yeah, I've got some of those like antihistamine nose sprays, but I don't know why they work for me. Oh yes, thank you, Vladimir. I have a Patreon. If you want to support me as well as doing super chats, you can either give a donation on Patreon or you can buy the merchandise. Thank you, Vladimir, for reminding me. I always forget because I don't like, constantly saying stuff like that. It probably would help if I did, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where I don't personally like going, give me money, give me money. I appreciate it when people do, but when people donate, just by the way, anything you donate always goes towards stuff on the YouTube stuff. My daily living stuff and that I always use for my work wages. If you donate, it always goes towards stuff that helps with YouTube. Out of all the posters, the big Soviet one, because it's the only one I bought. All the others are just ones I printed off. One of my other cool posters, though, is the Omega Man. I know you Americans would call it Omega Man, but the Omega Man Charlton Heston film poster I've got on my wardrobe over there. You can't see it in frame, but I'm sure it's visible in some videos. There's a training spear behind me being held by the French riot armour, but that's not got a point on it. It's got like a kind of metal ball bearing thing on the end. So unless you stab somebody with loads and loads of force, it wouldn't penetrate them. It's like a sparring spear. I do have a live spear, but that's not kept in this room. No, I can't speak Russian, unfortunately, Asen. Yeah, there you go. That Soviet head scale thing is on that poster there, look, where I'm pointing, where the guy is having his head measured by tape. But yeah, you can find that same picture online. Well, yeah, if somebody wants to donate, because quite often somebody like Laserpoint donates quite often, he says, could I do a review of a certain mask? So as long as it's something related to the channel, if you gave me some money and said, could I use that money towards a particular mask, then that's absolutely fine. But don't say something like, could I review a dragon dildo or something like that with your money, because no, I won't. But, yeah, if you wanted to donate and then say, could you put that towards a specific mask and then review a specific mask or bit of, helmet or something like that, that's fine. But bear in mind, if it's like a $300 mask or something and you donate $5, that doesn't mean I can just buy it because you've given a donation. What are you asking, Nazar? Do I lift, as in weightlifting? I've got a couple of weights. I've got a barbell under my bed. There's a 12 kg kettlebell. I've got a 40 kg kettlebell down there as well, but I'm careful with that because I had a back injury a few years ago. So sometimes when I'm doing stuff, my back can really play up. I do crossbow and bow shooting a bit as well. I just like lifting, because it gives you a good feeling in your head in terms of mental health from doing lifting and stuff and doing exercise. And because obviously it's good to keep your body in a healthy condition. But because I've always kind of done blue collar jobs, I found I've never needed to do too much workout kind of stuff outside of work, just because I end up building a bit of muscle and staying relatively fit just from doing jobs. Because when I used to work in a warehouse, all of that was literally walking around lifting heavy items and putting them on a conveyor belt. So when I used to do my old job at Argos as a stock assistant, I was essentially just lifting weights all day and being paid to do it. So yeah, Vladimir, which would you be more fucked by if you had it stabbed into you? A dragon dildo or a halberd? It's because my room's a cluttered mess, Killstrike Gaming. It's an organised autistic mess how I've got my room, but it's still a mess. So I know where shit is in my room, even though it's a mess, but it's just a simple case of the house isn't all that big and I've got to fit stuff everywhere. So I'm always going to have certain things to hand in the room because I've got nowhere else to put them. Depends if it's ground burst or air burst, Asen. If it's ground burst, there's going to be a lot of radiation. If it's air burst, there's not going to be too much because that's how nukes work. Yeah, I don't know, weapon collector. That's cool, Killshot. If you want, Nazar, what sometimes works, post a couple of bits of the question and do it as a few lines. So rather than posting the entire sentence at once, post 2 words of it, then another 2 words, and then I can see it that way, because YouTube doesn't tend to block it when people do it that way. But I think once Laserpoint kept asking me about certain things with filters, and it was blocking gas mask filter terms. It's really weird. Sadly, it's just made out of shitty drywall, most of the house, but I wish it was built out of knives and gas masks. Hey, what happens to your lungs? I can see that bit, so that bit's worked. Right, where I store all my masks, Killstrike, some are on display, but I prefer not to do that with the majority of my masks, because obviously hanging them up is not a good idea. It's just for those cheap-ass Soviet ones, why not? Lots are sitting in satchels, like you can see over there, either on the shelf, or in cupboards, or on different shelves in the house, under my bed, you know, just wherever I can fit them. But if they've got a satchel, they always stay in the satchel, just because it keeps them out of sunlight. Well, the only bit I can see, Nazar, is, hey, what happens to your lungs? So what happens to your lungs if they're exposed to asbestos? What happens to your lungs with asthma? What? Yeah, I know Tsar bombs hydrogen. You couldn't get an atomic bomb to 50 megatons. Hydrogen bomb you could. Yeah. Cool. GP5 is an interesting mask. Nice bit of history. Don't breathe through the green filter. It's a good place to start a gas mask collection. What happens to your lungs when they're exposed to asbestos? The asbestos fibers get stuck in your lungs. They can't come out. And then basically over time, that asbestos, the little fibers cut into your lungs, damaging your lungs. And then that can lead to cancer or just damage to your lungs. The more asbestos you're exposed to, the more your lungs get damaged. Yeah, the casing could fit 100 megatons, couldn't it? But they did it as 50 megatons to basically let the plane get away, and because they didn't want to do too much damage to their own surroundings. I don't know, my granddad used to talk to me about World War II, so that interested me in some of this stuff, but a lot of this stuff I just find interesting. Oh, God knows why, I just find it interesting. I'd say asbestos is worse than smoking, because there's a lot of evidence with smoking, and I'm not saying this is totally legit, but there's a lot of studies that say this, that if you smoke for a certain amount of time and then quit, you've got a pretty good chance of recovery. If you're exposed to a pretty high amount of asbestos over the years, you're fucked, basically. Lots of people that used to work in dockyards, you know, factories of asbestos, all died from it. You're not guaranteed to die from it, but, you know, the cancer rates and death rates for people that worked with asbestos daily are a lot higher than people that smoke 20 a day. It's just one of those things, sadly. Apparently, in Britain, the worst rate of lung cancer deaths was from people that worked in gas mask factories in World War II, because they built the filters, all the asbestos dust was going in the air, they were constantly inhaling asbestos dust, they were dying horribly of cancer. Don't know if they're working on a new bomb or not, Killstrike. What kind of bomb? A nuclear bomb? Like a massive conventional bomb? The thing is with 40mm filters, Henry, is that most military ones are basically just ABEC P3 filters. They just call them NBC or CBRN filters. So a lot of the time it just depends how well they're sealed, and how much they cost, cost for you to buy, and what the expiration date's on them. There's not really an answer to that. If you looked for a filter for sale, I'd say the best one is the one with the longest date that's the cheapest price. But again, that's not always going to coincide, is it? Yeah, I mean, RD40 filters are just 40mm NATO, aren't they? But in that kind of sense, yeah, 40mm NATO is what I'd advise people to go for, because the majority of masks use 40mm NATO. If you mean compared to GOST or like 3M proprietary or other, types of proprietary filters. But yeah, if you just mean what's the best brand of 40mm filter, it really doesn't matter as long as you go for one that has the same protection rating and it's sealed properly. PMG2 I'd say is better just because it's got the voice diaphragm on it. Otherwise it's exactly the same as a GP5. It's just a GP5 with ear holes and a voice diaphragm. But the ear holes aren't going to cause you any problem, because in a scenario where you need to cover your ears, you'd have an NBC suit on anyway. You can hear better with it on, it's more comfortable. Nearly always eBay, Crazy Dave. Sometimes from surplus shops, sometimes from random websites if they've got something in I can't find on eBay, but nearly always eBay, just because there's so much more choice on eBay. What, EO14 filters? If there's asbestos in them, they're on the inside, not on the outside, because the outside's metal. With EO14s, I've heard some people saying they contain asbestos, others don't. There's different models of EO14 depending on which generation of EO14 filter they were and which Warsaw Pact nation built them. Personally, I'd probably advise against breathing through them. But again, it's not a straightforward answer. I don't know, to be honest. But again, if you've got the choice, always use a modern filter, don't use an old filter. Average cost for what, Crazy Dave? Gas masks in general. Depends totally on the mask. Things like Soviet GP5s you can get between £10 and £20 or dollars. Some of my rarer masks could be up to like £100 plus, on a mask, or just masks in general. Depends what you're after. I assume you mean ABEC as in K, not a C, but yeah, ABEC filters are good. ABECs are like industrial names for filters which are pretty much the same as NBC filters. I assume it's an ABEC P3 filter rather than it just being ABEC, because it's going to be at least ABEC P1 because they have to keep the charcoal in. But yeah, that will protect you from organic vapor, inorganic vapor, acidic gases, and ammonia. So ABEC's pretty good in that regard. The most I ever paid for a gas mask Maxi Boy was my XM28, which I paid nearly £100 for because it was on an eBay auction. I think I put £100 as my max bid and it went for 90-something pounds. Polish DP66Ms are cool looking. Most old Geiger counters are cool looking. My favourite looking old Geiger counters are the old US ones. The US Civil Defence ones. Those bright yellow ones. Get one if you can with a probe on it, not just the ones that detect gamma radiation when it penetrates the Geiger. But they're really cool looking, because the thing I like with them is the probe stores in the handhold bit for it. The scariest gas mask, in my opinion, out of all the masks I've ever seen is the US children's Mickey Mouse mask, because what the fuck were they thinking when they designed that mask? Out of all the masks I've got, the Shums, out of lots of other masks, excluding the American Mickey Mouse mask, the US World War II optical masks are really creepy looking. Geiger counters sadly are quite expensive, Asen, because, again, people are saying if you buy the components and you know what you're doing, you can build one yourself. But lots of old retro Geiger counters are like £50 plus to like a couple of £100. If you buy a modern SOX style Geiger counter, you can get stuff like that for £100 or less. So if you just want something purely to detect radiation, they're not too bad. But if you want a cool looking retro one, they're generally more because they're more of a collector's item. Yeah, basically, if you donate on YouTube, Killstrike, what happens is YouTube pays me at the end of the month. They take whatever the total amount was in dollars, and they always do it in dollars because YouTube and Google are American, and then they convert it to pound sterling, the UK currency, based on what the conversion rate is on the day they pay me. So in general, when the government is fucking things up over here and the pound is weaker than it normally is, that's good for me because it means I get paid more. But yeah, if you just donate in dollars, it just converts it into my currency, basically. It doesn't stand for anything, Maxi Boy, as in A isn't short for anything, but it means organic. A is organic vapor, B is inorganic vapor, E is acidic gases, K is ammonia-based gases. But yeah, it isn't like A isn't short for something beginning with A or anything as clever as that. A is just organic vapor, for example. A is brown. B, which is inorganic vapor, I think is grey. E, which is acidic gases, I'm pretty sure is yellow colour. K, which is ammonia-based gases, is green. And particulate protection is white, I think, on the colour code. Cheers, Nazar. See ya. The orange reactor filters like 3M do. I don't know. I don't actually know what makes a reactor filter a reactor filter. I'm assuming it's just a particulate level 3 filter that has something in it that can neutralize some kind of radiation, like they put boron in the filter or something. I really don't know how they work. And I've never seen them for sale. Let me have a look on eBay, just in case you can get reactor filters on eBay. But I've never actually seen them for sale. This is the thing. I know they exist in terms of companies. Yeah, there's none on eBay. I've never seen them for sale, that's the thing. They exist because 3M and that list them as like products they sell, but I've just never seen them. Oh, all right, you're saying bye to another gun, is there? I don't know how much they should cost in the US. In the UK, you can get them to £20-30. So yeah, that's a fair price. The M65 is a cool mask. There's one up there if you can't see it. But yeah, the only problem with the M65, it doesn't have very good peripheral seal. So if your face isn't the same shape as the mask, it's not going to make good seal. I only say over M65, it might be a better idea to buy a smaller mask than you think you need, not a bigger one. Because it's one of those masks that is likely to let air through unless it sits really tight to your face. Yeah, sadly, Vladimir, it won't let you post a link because only mods can post links because YouTube think you're spamming. Right, I'll go through it again, Samuel. A is inorganic vapors. A is organic vapors, it's brown. B is inorganic vapors, it's grey. E is acidic gases, which is yellow. K is ammonia-based gases, which is green. And particulates are white. I'm pretty sure that's a colour code on an ABEC filter. Let me just have a quick look. If I've got an ABEC filter sitting in the drawer, I can double-check that for you. Right, this is an ABE filter. Although this doesn't even... Or I'm assuming the one that looks like black on this is actually meant to be brown. But this is an ABE P3 filter. So, yeah, that's meant to be brown, but it looks black. Then it's grey, then it's yellow, and it would be green if it was an ABEC, and then it's white. But, yeah. I definitely know that organic vapor filters on their own are definitely a brown colour, because I've got, like, 3M masks that are brown and white and things like that. But I've barely been following US politics. I don't like to talk about politics on the stream because it can be a bit toxic, but I've barely been following it. I know Joe Biden's running, who we know as creepy Joe Biden because he feels people up in photographs. But I'm afraid I can't tell you much about it because I've barely been following it. I assume the Republican guy will be Trump, won't it, in 2020? But like I said, I've barely been following it. Not sure, Kill Strike Gaming. I'll go on a bit longer. I'll go on until the questions dry up, or I really need to go off for a piss. But for radiation, Everton, unless you're getting a mask that's made from really thick rubber, it's not going to do anything to protect you from beta radiation, and no mask is going to protect you from gamma radiation. So all they're going to do is protect you from alpha radiation. Any full face mask with a P3 filter on is pretty much identical for alpha radiation. So just pick one you like, basically. But yeah, basically, if it made a tight seal to your face, a dust mask or a half face mask with a P3 filter on is just as good as a full face mask. I mean, technically, I prefer a full face mask to protect your eyes more, but it's down to the filter on it for radioactive dust, at least as fallout. No, I've not got any World War I gas masks. On eBay, Robin, at least on the UK eBay, if you search for something like Soviet civil defense poster, Soviet poster, something like that, you'll get a lot of results for similar things. Some have like nuke blasts on, showing like the blast radius effects, but I just search Soviet civil defense posters and you can find things like that. Right, radiation is weird like this, Everton. If we're going to talk about ionizing radiation, technically gamma is the least harmful, but it's hardest to escape from gamma. So alpha is the most dangerous, but if alpha gets in you, it will really fuck you up. So alpha is the easiest to protect you from because it can't even penetrate paper. So if you'd got like a dust suit on and a particulate respirator, you'd be protected from alpha radiation. But if it gets in your body, you're screwed. Gamma, on the other hand, you can't block without thick pieces of lead or enough thick other materials. So it's basically impossible to make armor that would properly protect yourself from gamma radiation. But like, I don't know, isotope for isotope, or however you measure it, sievert for sievert, gamma is the least dangerous. But I'd still be scared of gamma because you can't hide from it. I really don't know, Samuel. I did not invent the ABEC system, so I cannot tell you why they call it that. I still don't know if there's a proper name for the ABEC system, because I just call it ABEC because that's the easy way of pronouncing it, and it's ABEC is the most common one, although there's more letters for different things. Like, there's one for nitrous gases and other things. Let me see if I've got a picture on my PC and then I can read them out. Okay, here we go. So, yeah, I was right about the colours, by the way. Then, carbon monoxide is black, which is CO. Hg is mercury vapor, which is red. Blue is nitrous gases, which is NO, including nitrogen monoxide. Orange is reactor, as you were saying before, and white's particulate. And I think I've seen ones before that have like 20 different colours on, you know, each with a different 1 or 2 letters on. That's all right, mate. I can't speak German very good. Mein Deutsch ist nicht gut. Guten Arbeit, is that good evening? I'll Google search that as well, Vladimir. Is that for the posters? Oh, that's cool, yeah. Respiratory protective equipment poster. That's literally it, isn't it? I have to say, the modern ones I don't like as much of the actual photos on. I like the old ones, the illustrations. As much as, you know, it's more practical having ones with photos on the guess. I like the old ones a lot more because somebody was actually paid to draw the things, weren't they? Oh, the IP4 and IP5 one is fucking cool. I'm going to just download that as an image. Hang on. I'll just link people to this in case they don't know what I just found. Because I just searched what Vladimir said. But yeah, this is a very cool poster with like an illustration of an IP4 and an IP5. IP4M technically, isn't it? Because it's like the one with the voice diaphragm on an IP5. But yeah. Do you work for Silver Shamrock, Alex? Is that the magic pumpkin? You wouldn't survive a meltdown if it got really, really bad, but lead paint would block some gamma radiation, yeah. In theory, though, if you just had enough walls and objects between you and a source of gamma radiation, it would block it as well. That's why in the Protect and Survive manuals, as much as the basic lean-to shelters would not protect you from a nuclear, hydrogen bomb going off and just wiping you out of its blast wave, the putting loads of mattresses and doors and things like that and objects between you and the outside would actually protect you from gamma rays, because if you have enough objects between you and the gamma source, it is going to stop the gamma rays. It doesn't have to be lead or concrete. It's just you don't need as much lead or concrete compared to other materials to stop gamma. Because while gamma penetrates lots of these materials, if there's enough of it, it can't penetrate all of it because it loses energy as it penetrates. It depends. What country are you in, Crazy Dave? Because I can only tell you what's available in the UK at the moment, and I've seen on eBay for good prices. Avon FM12s and Avon CT12s are really good masks. Italian Spaziani masks are on eBay at the moment for like 30 quid and they're really good. I mean, would you trust Homer Simpson as a safety inspector? I'm not saying that you'd have 15 mattresses in your All Kill Strike gaming. My point is, though, that if you had, if you knew there was going to be leaking gamma radiation, you could essentially just make a shelter where you threw all kinds of shit on top of it, like clutter from your house, and it would actually reduce the amount of radiation getting through. If you want an old, cool-looking mask, even if it's not that practical, the French M51 respirator, they're generally very cheap to buy online, like sometimes under £20, and they're very cool and retro-looking. Any Soviet ones? What, Robin? Oh, right, you're talking to Crazy Dave. I thought you were on about me. I was like, yeah, look up there right now. Yep, Mark IV NBC suits can stop wasps from stinging you. I exterminated a wasp nest using the old East German, I think it was the either Mark I or Mark II NBC suit. The East German, not the British ones, the rubber one. Because with the rubber NBC suit on, they couldn't sting me, so I could just laugh while I sprayed them with a gas mask and the wasp spray on. I don't like killing animals, but wasps are fucking bastards, and I don't mind exterminating them. But yeah, you can use the Mark IV NBC suit to stop wasps stinging you. It would be like a bee suit. No, I don't like killing any sort of animals in Zara, but as I said, I make an exception for wasps, because wasps are horrible and serve no purpose. Like honeybees and everything pollinate plants and they make honey, Lots of other insects, you know, carry pollens and do stuff like that. Lots of animals have a purpose. Wasps are just dickheads, aren't they? They buzz around and try and sting you. It depends what the sort of job was. If it was a nuclear power plant and I got to do something that was fairly easy to do and I was paid well enough for it, sure, why not? Nuclear power plants are actually pretty safe. That's the old World War II Soviet civil defense mask, isn't it, Crunchy Dog? I don't have one, though. I don't think their stingers would be long enough. They could maybe damage the NBC suit, but when wasps are flying around me and I have the NBC suit on, I don't think they were even trying to sting it properly, because I guess they could work out, even though they were all smacking into me, you know, angrily buzzing and hitting me. I guess they worked out they couldn't sting through it, so they were probably looking for an opening, which they couldn't find. I don't think mosquitoes could get through it either. But again, I'm not an expert. That's cool. What kind was it? A radioactive red, the orange one, shot zombie, or is it like the yellow or the blue ones? I know they're all radioactive, but I know the orange ones have the most uranium content in. You can throw lighter fluid on it, Nazar, and also set on fire. That'd be funny. As long as you don't burn your house down, but, you know, fuck wasps. And wasps are a lot more aggressive and they're dickheads. Oh, it's the yellow ones. They're still radioactive, just not as radioactive. Are you sure they're wasps then, like yellow jackets, and not hornets in Nazar? Because hornets are really big. Yeah, I'd be interested. I don't know if I've ever seen a video where somebody's got all the different colours of Fiesta wire and they take a reading. I know the red, orange ones are the most radioactive, so that's why they use them as check sources now. But I know they're all radioactive, but I'd be interested in seeing like what the hourly reading is from different colours. I fucking hate ticks, because they can give you Lyme disease, can't they? Luckily, I've never been bitten by a tick. But yeah, ticks are bastards as well. Yeah, I've seen videos of some like Asian styles of hornet, and they are massive, aren't they? Yeah, like Vladimir saying, NBC suits definitely do help. The thing is with NBC suits, they're really practical for lots of just DIY jobs. Like if you're having to work in like floodwater or something, most NBC suits are going to block that coming through. If you have to like exterminate insects, they can't bite you through the NBC suit. If you're working in a really cold outside place, again, NBC suit's going to protect you from that. Working with certain chemicals, NBC suit will protect you from that. NBC suits are just really good surplus for just doing a lot of household chores in. Yeah, what you might want to do, Mike, is put a load of insect repellents on your camo trousers, because like the British British NBC trousers, just the British camo stuff now is treated with in the factories with insect repellent or insect killer or whatever. They actually put it on the material, and it's meant to last for however many washes, like 100 washes or something. I've got a Discord for donators, Robin. You have to donate just because it's like a donator perk thing, so they can chat with me on there. But you only have to donate $1 like once to get access to it. It's just obviously it's not fair on the people who've donated. If I let anybody in, it would be harder to moderate as well. Because I've had people try and raid the server before and bullshit like that. As I said, stupid e-drama shit I don't want to get involved in. I've played Borderlands 2 and I never really got into it. I'll go on this stream to half past, which is another 6 or so minutes, just so people know. When I say half past, I don't mean 9:30 UK time. I mean when it says I've been streaming it in my top corner bit for an hour and a half. Ah, good call. How much is it? Mine was like £30, I think. I wouldn't be too scared of nuclear war, Everton, because it'd be very fast if it happens. 1 minute you'll be there, if you're lucky. The next, gone. What's to worry about with something like that? You know what I mean? I'd be more worried about something that would kill me slowly. I suppose with nuclear war, if you survive the initial attack and then you were starving to death or suffering from the symptoms of fallout, that'd be pretty awful. But if you're in the blast radius, you know, enjoy the fireworks while you can see them. Your retinas burn out, and then all of a sudden, you're just an exploding skeleton. We don't really get cockroaches in the UK, Nazar, so I don't have an issue with them, but I can understand why people don't like them. The only time I ever see cockroaches is when I used to have a scorpion, and I used to buy feeder roaches for the scorpion. It'll protect you from the alpha radiation, but if you're in the blast zone of a nuke, you're going to be incinerated or ripped to shreds by the blast wave, aren't you? I don't plan on eating plutonium, Mason. You wouldn't even have to eat plutonium to die. If you smacked a load of plutonium together, you could get a criticality event and kill yourself that way. The thing is, though, the UK is so small that in the event of a global nuclear war, everybody's fucked in a global nuclear war. But the UK is specifically fucked because it's such a small island and there's so many viable targets on it. I think there was a funny thing where the British government during the Cold War, basically said they thought the Soviets had hit us with this many nukes and we're fucked. And it turned out when the Russian Federation later on released some of the information about nuclear targets in Britain, there were even more nukes and megatons assigned than they thought, so we'd be even more fucked than they thought, and they still thought we'd basically be wiped out. I see a kill strike. I'm only going to be on another few minutes anyway. Yeah, don't eat anything acidic of it, shot zombie, or you might be, your gut might be enduring some glorious, glorious radiation. All right, cool. Yeah, see you, Mike. As I said, I'm going to be going off in a couple of minutes anyway. I think, in theory, the human race would survive a nuclear war, Nazar, but I don't think in very big numbers. It would have to be in countries that weren't targeted and ones that were lucky enough not to have too much fallout blowing away. Well, in the event, Everton, of a global thermonuclear war, all the major countries would hit each other and get wiped out. But I don't think you're going to get anything like the Cold War scenario again, just because you don't have the massive power blocks pointing lots and lots of hydrogen bombs at each other anymore, just because it's not the current situation. That's not to say that nukes couldn't be used, but I don't think there's going to be, one side sends nukes and then everybody just goes like that with their nukes at each other. All right, cheers, Robin. Thank you very much. If Russia and America nuked each other, nobody would win. Because if you're imagining a proper full-scale nuclear war, everybody dies. Yes, some people would survive, but I don't think when both countries are completely decimated by thermonuclear weapons, you can really say somebody's won that. Again, I think Russians now, not the Soviets, had a much better civil defense policy in terms of they had more nuclear shelters and better civil defense training. That's still not going to do all that much in the event of, two superpowers throwing all they've got at each other. No, I don't have any inert rocket launchers or the activated rocket launchers. I had looked at some and like grenade launchers and things like that. There were some that weren't too expensive on D&B military, like under £200, but it'd be quite hard to display a like big tube rocket launcher or whatever on missile launcher because the tubes are quite big and they wouldn't fit on the wall all that well. Rifles are at least quite slim if you're going to hang them. A big, massive like man-pad launcher or whatever else is going to be pretty big. Yeah, I'd worry more about something like Yellowstone. You're completely right with that, Junebug, because that's going to throw a lot more shit into the atmosphere, isn't it, than worrying about Iran or North Korea or something like that. That's cool, Blue. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me, Vladimir, because I guess in the Soviet period, they were really expecting it to happen, weren't they? The sad thing is in Britain as well. Back in World War II, they actually had a lot of civil defence stuff, and then after World War II, the civil defence stuff slowly dried up to the point now where the civil defence thing is like a very poorly equipped volunteer organisation that basically doesn't exist anymore. If you went back to the 40s or the 50s, there were proper, like paid and volunteer civil defence people that taught people what to do. They had equipment and all that supplied to them. Now there's basically nothing. Which is why people are so useless, really, when something does happen and go wrong. They really don't know what to do. I know who Arnold Schwarzenegger is. I don't know who you mean by that, but obviously I do know Arnie movies, like The Terminator and Commando and all those. Air raid sirens are cool. I like the old Carter British World War II sirens, the really distinctive, horrible droning noise. Sadly, I don't think you could post one of those to me, Shop Zombie. I don't think the British government would be very happy with me getting that in the mail. What do you mean hydrogen bomb Soviet tank? I'm pretty sure America, the Soviets, and the Russians, obviously, they definitely do. Britain has hydrogen bombs. I imagine France has hydrogen bombs. I don't know if India and Pakistan have hydrogen bombs. They definitely have atomic bombs. Israel definitely have atomic bombs. I imagine they probably have hydrogen bombs. I don't think North Korea's developed hydrogen bombs yet, but they have atomic bombs. I like Platoon. I like Full Metal Jacket. I like quite a lot of those Vietnam movies. Answer what? You keep spamming that, Nazir, and it's annoying me now. I don't know. I imagine Bulgaria is getting richer over time, but I don't know how rich they'd be compared to other countries in the region. The US is ready for war. Britain certainly isn't, because we've had a bit of trouble recently, if you've not seen in the news, where a British ship was hijacked by Iran, and we don't have enough of a navy anymore to do anything about it, because they cut all the navy saying we wouldn't need it. And then, of course, it's demonstrated why we need a navy, and then they're going, ooh, 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 all the politicians. Right, see you, Richard. I'll be off now anyway, because I've run over. I've heard people say that you don't need a filter on a gas mask, Spooder. I've heard lots of dumb things, but that's one of the ones that always gets me. Like, oh, a mask works without a filter. No, it doesn't. Okay, you don't need to keep spamming that it's Nazar, not Nazir. I don't know. I thought I said Nazar, but you're saying I said Nazir. I don't know. I'd assume Australia. I'm going to be off now. Australia or Switzerland. Only I'd say Switzerland because they actually have enough fallout shelters as their entire population. That's cool. I've not been following it too closely, but I know Trump actually is doing more to support Britain in regards to this than the EU is, even though Iran got shitty at Britain because we enforced an EU sanction against them. And then, of course, that's why I'm like pro-Brexit, is because the EU, as soon as something bad happens, they twiddle their thumbs and don't want to help. You know, they keep going, oh, we need this EU army, whatever, but oh no, we're not going to stand up and help Britain, even though they got in trouble because they were doing something in our favour. That's why we should be allies with NATO countries and America, not some of the EU countries that want to, play big boys and aren't. Okay. Anyway, I'm off. So yeah, I'm off. I will stream tomorrow. I don't know what time yet. It might be afternoon, it might be evening, but I'll definitely be doing a stream tomorrow. Thanks for everybody that donated. I appreciate it. And anybody that has donated and hasn't currently sent me their Discord thing, get around to doing that, and then I can add you to the server. Right, see everybody, and I'll have a video going live tomorrow, but it's not a regular video. This will be a video Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. The video tomorrow is just going to be one, just to give my thoughts on something, just because people keep asking me, and I want to make it clear in a video format. Yeah, cheers, Vladimir. Right, see everybody. Goodbye.